Back to another episode of Rapid Results with Andrew Weiss. We have the professional coach today, Tom Marcoux,
Thank you.
and it's such an incredible guest. We're very excited to host him. And in case you don't know about Tom, who this awesome man is, Tom is known as the communication sage and spoken word strategist who helps people like you get others to say yes. Investors, customers, and clients. He's taught MBA students at Stanford University and has 10 courses on udemy.com. He's the winner of a special award at the Emmy Awards and author of over 50, yes, you heard that right, 50 books. Tom speaks on stages from New York to New Zealand, including Thailand and Silicon Valley, and he'll show you how to make pitches and close the sales. Tom, as we like to start off our shows, tell us what's the most professional accomplishment you're most proud of?
Wow. Well, I'm going to do a hyphen here because, of course, one of my favorite accomplishments is writing, producing, directing, and being one of the lead actors in a feature film. So, and coming out of nowhere, not having any family in the film industry, and being able to pitch and to get people to join me and to actually then get distribution, and my actors would be recognizable. I got an email from Poland where someone says, where can I get the DVD? And I had to say, well, you could get it from Hong Kong. Anyway, so the deal is that that's one of my joys, but it really came about from my ability to pitch, to get people to cooperate, to get people to say yes. And that's why I even call my website getthebigyes.com. Getthebigyes.com.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Can you give us an example of a pitch you're recently proud of? Is it a pitch to be accepted for your film, to be featured and get it on DVD? Is it a pitch to a certain actor who got involved? Any recent pitches that you're proud of getting to that yes?
Well, my more recent pitches have been, for example, just recently, 3 times I've done workshops for California State University, Chico. So I had to pitch an idea like the business storyteller's edge, and they went for that. I also taught them other things like time management for stress relief and the cure for procrastination, and they went for that. So the idea is I'm always pitching because I'm also supporting people. And like when I close a sale with a client, what happens is that I pitch them, and at the same time, what I've done is I've given them an experience, a transformation experience, so that they come in with an interest, maybe because that's why they're talking with me, but they don't have the juice to say yes. And so it's what I'm proud of is what I've studied with mentors and training and my own experience for decades about how to connect with people, how to reflect their feelings, and how to get them into a space where they can be courageous and they can say yes.
I love that. I love that. And I know we have lots of stories planned for today, but we'll also make
Mhm.
sure we're being efficient with time. So let's start off by saying, out of your 50 books,
Mhm.
which of those are the most popular and bestsellers, and why?
Okay.
Because obviously that's contributed to your success and you love sharing your knowledge with the world.
Well, terrific. So the book that gets a lot of energy and also it led to me making a course on udemy.com is called Darkest Secrets of Film Directing. And so
Ooh.
so it's really intriguing, and it involves all these powerful stories about top directors and how they avoid the hidden traps that happen in film directing. And it comes from my experience of directing a couple of films, feature films, and then hundreds of videos. And the idea is that you can get prepared. Some things are kind of predictable. It's kind of predictable that often actors and crew people have disagreements. And how do you handle that? You have to be conflict skilled. And so that's one of my favorite books. And of course, it went from being a book then to being a Udemy course, and soon it'll be available on Audible. So the idea of that has been selling as a paperback book and as an ebook for years. Another one of my favorite books is called Confident English, which just became my 10th udemy.com course. And so
Wow.
Confident English, because it certainly helps people who speak English as a second language, but also it helps people who just want to use English in a way that helps them radiate confidence. In fact, Andrew, you and I talked about that. The title we could say for this conversation is How to Radiate Confidence and
Yes.
Close Sales.
Yes, no, and that's the next question I wanted to ask. Actually, is about confidence. I mean,
Mhm,
where do you get this confidence from, Tom? You're a speaker, you're an author, you're involved in the film industry. So,
mhm.
where does your confidence come from? How can people get some of that?
Well, it comes often from rehearsal, but it also comes from training. It comes from transforming actually neural pathways in the brain. Because I started off as a timid, shy boy playing the piano for 31 seniors in a retirement home. I'm 9 years old and I'm terrified. And I'm shaking so much I cannot reproduce it. My leg shook like a hummingbird's wings. I was so scared. So, of course, I'd have to become a professional speaker and an educator and a feature film actor and all that kind of stuff because I was motivated to rise out of where I was, which was in that shy, timid space.
No, I love it. I love it. That makes sense. Well, let's start going into some stories because I know you're obviously a master storyteller. You know, teaching other people stories, and I know you want to hear stories from me. But
Hmm.
you had me write down a couple of stories about the ring in Disneyland and the airplane wing, the ring in the wing, kind of nice rhyme to it. So
Okay. Okay.
feel
Well,
free to share either or
sure.
both of those stories.
Okay. Well, I want to put this into a frame. And so, one of
Yeah.
the things that we do when you are confident, when you radiate confidence, and also when you close sales, is that you use stories so that people can have a transformative experience. They transform not based on how you push them or you overcome an objection, but what you do is you tell them a story. Now, one story that audiences love is when I tell them about I'm on the set of the first feature film I'm directing, and this is before 9/11. So we are on the ramp right there, where at the airport, where we are. Well, it's a tarmac actually. We're on the tarmac of the airport, and these planes take off, and what I've got is an American Eagle plane, and it's coming down the runway. That's the word I was looking for. Anyway, it's coming down the runway and it's going straight towards my cameraman. And this is by design because he's supposed to crouch and he's supposed to have this is a small plane, seats like 20 people. And
Hmm.
the thing is, but it's got dual engines and it's loud. And so the plane's coming down, and I was just told by an airport official that I have only 1 hour to film instead of 3 hours that I'm supposed to. And so I'm looking at a binder, but then I look up and my first thing is to keep everybody safe. And this guy's not going to be safe. He's standing too tall. He's not realizing that the wing of the plane is about to hit his head. And so what
Wow.
I do is I drop my binder, I run over there, grab him by the jacket, pull him down. The wing cuts the air over where both our heads had just been. And I share this because if I'm in a situation where I need to talk with a particular client or an organization and say that, look, I keep the most important things front and center, safety of my people. That's number one. And
Yeah.
also, I can jump in and just do what's got to be done and not hesitate. And that's the power of story. I took you on a little story journey and then I give you the point at the end of it. Now, often it's very powerful to start a story by saying, I remember a time when I learned to keep my eyes on the most important thing. And then I tell my wing story. So
Hmm.
anyway, but just so that we can move forward, how about we get into your stories by my giving you a coaching session
Yeah.
live right now? And this is really valuable for your viewers. You mentioned that your viewers are entrepreneurs, and so they
Hmm.
either need to pitch to get investors, or they need to close sales, they need to get clients, they need to get customers. And so I'd like to ask you, like I asked you yesterday when we talked about this, what is something when you're closing a sale with a prospective coaching client? What is something that comes up for you? That's a
Yeah, it's a
difficult.
good question. Is a lot of people say they don't have the budget
Mhm.
and they don't have the time to be able to move forward in coaching. So we can of course address either one or both of those.
Okay.
But a lot of people are usually excited about the product. I know
Mhm,
sales is something that people love working on and love improving
mhm.
on. And obviously, sales and money makes the world go round. And so, if you
Right,
can't make sales, you don't have a business. So,
right,
yeah, I'd love to do talking about money and or time for being the biggest obstacle.
right. So let's just go right into the money one. What's
Yeah.
often referred to as the dreaded money objection. And
Hmm.
so my question to you is, when's a moment in your experience where you got somebody to really feel something, when they felt either enough pain so that they would move and they would take action, or they felt enough joy about what would be better about their life?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the pain is that they wanted to feel like they were constantly growing. They wanted to evolve. They wanted to
Hmm.
be a full-time entrepreneur,
Ah,
but they felt like they were being held back by being stuck in the 9 to 5,
right.
and they wanted to figure out how to have the freedom, have the income that they desired.
Hmm.
And so I let them know, like, hey, with my coaching, with my programs, I do want to help you become a full-time entrepreneur. I do want to help you get the freedom you deserve. I'm living it. I'm experiencing it. I'm
Hmm.
working virtually. I'm being a full-time entrepreneur, and I love it. And so this is what I love, teaching other people how to do the same as well.
Gotcha, gotcha. Right. Okay, well, terrific. So now what we do is we can make that even more vivid by picking a person. Now, you could, one way when you talk about somebody like a former client, what you can say is, so one of my clients, we'll call her Helen.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so,
All right, we'll name
so
him
this is,
Helen for now.
yeah, but no, but what I'm saying though is that you can in the conversation say, we'll call him George or
Yeah.
whatever like
Okay.
that. So what you're doing is you're not betraying any confidences
Of course.
because that's part of our profession as coaches. And I'm an executive coach and of course spoken word strategist and communication sage. The deal is that I can talk about something, but I don't identify certain specifics about a client because that's not appropriate. So
Mhm.
but let's say we're looking at this story that we want you to use, and so pick someone, give them, tell me a fictional name, and then tell me a little bit about how that moment where either they got a really great result from you or they started to feel better. So I'm listening to you.
Yeah, so I will go back to I'll use another name. We'll say George.
Okay.
George. One really great result was during the pandemic when everything
Hmm.
went virtual. He's going, how the heck do I grow my chiropractor practice? How the heck
Ah,
do I get more clients and sales when everything just went virtual?
right.
And so what I helped him do is I helped him multiply his sales and multiply his ROI with investing into me by helping him realize the power of webinars.
Ah.
And part of the power of webinars is having great partnerships to help drive your ideal clients
Hmm.
to your presentation. And then, of course, making sure you have a great sales script to close the clients right there on the call.
Gotcha.
And so I got him to get over 200 RSVPs to his webinar within, I think it was about 5 weeks of
Hmm.
reaching out to an ideal partner. And then from there, he was able to get enough clients to fill his year if he wanted to from that one webinar.
Excellent. You see, that's what we're talking about. So instead of a person saying that it's too expensive or being stuck in that space of this is too expensive, what you do is you tell a specific story about George and you tell a specific story about a result, and then people have a transformation experience. And what I would say is that what you're trying to do is spark the aha moment.
Yeah.
And so now another thing that I would pull into this is that people ask me, how do you radiate confidence? How do you close those sales? And the way you do it, I just say CAR, C-A-R. And so what I say is confidence is align a story, reflect feelings. So I'll
Hmm.
say that again. Confidence is align a story, reflect feelings. So that's CAR, obviously
Yeah.
C-A-R. And so the idea is you want to get somewhere. You want to ultimately serve these people and help them make better impact in the world, help them feel better, help them be better and kinder to anyone who's around them, family, friends, strangers, because they have good energy and they feel hope and certainty that things are better. And that's, by the way, those are the powerful words. That's what our stories are about, is that by giving them the story, just like because I'm a filmmaker, because I'm a film director, by giving them the story, they have a transformational experience. And then they feel the aha, and then they say yes.
Yeah.
And that's what
I
we're
love
talking
that.
about. Okay, so now that was about value, getting enough through one webinar, getting enough people to fill out the calendar for a whole year. One
Yeah.
webinar, that's powerful. And so then the other thing is about time. And
Hmm.
so is there ways that you express, like if you picked another person, a George, a Stephen, a Helen, a
Well,
Sam, a Susan?
let's flip the script here. Let's have you talk about a client that you've helped and that
Hmm.
you've helped overcome the time objection, or you can talk about the result that you got a client. I'm sure people listening to this, they're like, oh, we love to hear about the success stories of you taking a client
Okay.
from A to B. So we'd love to hear about that.
Okay, well, here we go. So I was working with a client. This is somebody who wanted to increase their impact. This was someone who is speaking on a modest level, and they wanted to have, they thought, well, what I need is a book. And what I did was I said, well, a book is for many people a mountain. And so instead of going for a mountain, let's just take a street that's going up a little bit of an incline as opposed to a mountain. And so I said, well, let's make you, we'll get you a book. We'll say you are the author of this book, but we'll make it an audiobook. And so what happened was, and this is one of my favorite responses or testimonials, is the person, a gentleman named Brad. He said that working with Tom for 10 days, I got more done than other coaches in 2 years.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's the kind of, and so do I feel great about it? Fantastic. I mean, I didn't write
As you
that. He wrote
should. Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that the idea is he did do the audiobook and then he did do a paperback book. The idea is many people have to get out of inertia. They've got to get out of being stuck and they've got to flow. And that's the power of coaching. And so the another thing that would occur to me is that let's talk about that. So you're dealing with the details of both people having the money objection and having the time objection. So I want to jump ahead that what would happen in a coaching session is that we would get you to action steps.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you feel would be one or two action steps that would help you close sales better or faster?
Yeah, so I would say when it comes to time is that, something that people need to realize is that the faster you accomplish things, the more you can get things done.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite exercises I love to do with people is when they say, "Oh, I don't have time for that." I go, "Great. Well, tell me about your day." I
Mm-hmm.
go, "Well, I have breakfast from 8 to 10 a.m. Then I have to work from 10 to 5. Then I
Mm-hmm.
have dinner from 5 to 7. And then I go to bed at 11. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. What happens between those times of 7 to 11? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's my wind down time. That's my relaxation time. That's time I spend with the family. And
Mm-hmm.
I go, well, even if you just took 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, that's still an extra 8 hours minimum you could be spending each month working towards your craft to help put you ahead and help you increase your income, increase your influence, increase your insights that you have, and give you a chance to get an advantage. And so when people say they don't have time, I want to remind them, no one has time. You create time, you make time. And
Right.
that's kind of the beauty of life, is that we can always be on our own time. And they even
Mm-hmm.
talk about that in the book, The Big Leap,
Uh-huh.
when he says it's called Einstein time,
Mm-hmm.
because of how time is an illusion, and the
Okay.
importance of recognizing that. What are your thoughts on
Gotcha.
that?
Well, yeah, I'm with you. And so the thing that some people, there is a quote, and the gentleman's name I don't have in my thoughts right now. It's a little unusual name, but he has a quote saying, "Only the disciplined ones are free." This was
Mm-hmm.
a super distance runner, and his name escapes me at the second. But anyway, only the disciplined ones are free. So I'm with you. What I do is I actually track about 20 factors on a piece of paper every day of things, whether it's exercise or it's meditation, or it is that right now I'm converting one of my 4 novels in a series called Jenna Lee Storm. I write under a pen name, Raven Aaron James. Anyway, but I'm converting one of them into comic book form, which is actually going to be something like manga. So every day, every day, I am sketching for 10 to 15 minutes, non-negotiable. It happens every day. I don't go to sleep unless I've done that. And so the idea is that whatever you pick that is non-negotiable, that's how you can make time work. But here's my question. We didn't cover it yet. So if
Yeah.
you were going to increase your use of stories so that you can close, or that you can transform people out of the space of I can't, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, and get them into the space of I could, and it would be fantastic. What action step would help you?
Yeah, I'd say going back to providing examples of clients I've worked with.
Hmm.
We'll name this new client Gertrude.
Hmm. Okay.
We'll call her Gertrude. I just thought of it. But she was also working a full-time job. She wanted to
Right.
be able to increase her income. She wants her side income to replace her full-time job,
Right.
and she had a kid. And I asked her, walk me through your daily and your weekly schedule.
Hmm.
And then she said, okay, I guess I can find time at from 2 to 3 p.m. when my kid is at school, and when I'm
Ah.
during my lunch break, I still have energy during that time. I can work on my craft. And I say, great, here's what you're going to do during that hour each day, 2 to 3 p.m. We're going to block that time off, and here's how you're going to focus on your craft. And through that, we were able to help her learn how to be a high-ticket salesman, saleswoman, I should say, learned how to create prosperous events. And it's just very exciting that helping people get their time back is something that's a priority and that I love doing.
Excellent, excellent. So, but you identified a very discrete, very specific thing, is to really work your stories. And now, of course, Gertrude, I don't know. That's probably maybe just like John Smith in the country of origin of that name, but for a lot of folks, Gertrude might be, well, it'll be a showstopper. They'll go, oh, anyway. But my point though is that that's an action step. Another action step is rehearse.
Yes,
rehearsing. So before I do anything, I have a circle of around 15 people that I run ideas past, and I will rehearse with them even for just 9 minutes, because that's not too big an ask.
Yeah.
And so I will rehearse things. And so preparing for anything, preparing for a podcast episode like this, or preparing for doing one of my online courses, I rehearse and then I do. And for example, at one point, what I was doing is my schedule was so full, I would talk to a couple of people in my circle, rehearse for, like I say, about 5 minutes or 9 minutes with one person, and then with another person, and that night record a video at 11 p.m. because that's the only time I could fit it in. And so therefore rehearsal is fantastic. I know this from directing theater, directing feature films, directing actors, being a performer myself, is that rehearsal frees you up because you've been there. You've been in the adrenaline state, especially when you rehearse, just even on the phone. And that's another thing. So I would suggest in this moment as your coach that not only do you identify your stories, but you give them a name. And then, like, for example, I told you the American Eagle plane wing story, or just call it the plane wing story, but you give it a name so that you always have it handy.
Yeah, I love that.
And so that it's got a handle. See, the challenge for a lot of people is they don't have everything at their fingertips. So that's why I always like come up with something that is easy to remember. Like I said, that confidence, because our show today is about how to radiate confidence and close sales. Confidence is align a story and reflect feelings. And so that's the other thing too, is that I got a question for you. How do you get the person to feel what they need to feel so they say yes to you? How do you do that? How do you get them to feel that?
Yeah, so one of the things I do is I have people go through the exercise of telling me, pick a certain timeline from now, what's the worst outcomes that could possibly happen? And then I ask them, how do you feel about that? And then they start going through the feelings of distraught or sad or painful or hopeless. And then I also ask them the question, tell me about a timeline here from now where everything goes perfectly. How do you feel about that? And then they can go into, happiness, joy, I'm elated. So that's one of the ways I elicit feeling. How do you usually do it?
Well, you see, what I like to use this phrase, reflect feelings. And so in addition to not only having them express something like you, and that's excellent, what you do, and I would like add on to that is that when they say that, if I did do this as my full-time job, then I'd feel so good. And then I would say, that sounds exciting. And then there's power in that way of reflecting feelings. That sounds exciting. Because if that's not the word that they want, they will change it. They will say, well, yeah, but it's kind of scary too. And I said, oh, really? Tell me more. And then so it's kind of scary. And I said, yeah, it's really scary because of the this and the that. And so when I reflect back to them the exact words when I get to them, and that's what I'm always looking for. So when I'm coaching someone, I'm looking to find, and you may have seen that in this conversation already, I'm looking to find the magic words in you. Because if you graft on just some pattern that you picked up from a book, it's not the power of coaching. Coaching is a transformational experience because we take you from where you are and we bring you into a higher level, a place of functioning where you've never been before. And so that's the excitement of being a coach. That's the excitement of being coached. And that's why I get coached every week. But I get coached by a number of people among the 15 that are in my inner circle. And they coach me, and I play with ideas all the time. So, by the way, just for the fun of it, I know we have a little less time than one of your usual episodes.
Yeah.
So what I would do is let's kind of just bring this session, because we had a little coaching going on in this conversation, into like what happens at the end of a coaching session, which is to identify action steps. And so what I heard, and you can modify this at any point here, Andrew, but what I kind of heard is an action step would be for you to line up your stories.
Yeah.
And it's really good to line up more than one story for certain points, because if you know someone's a cat person, then you won't tell the dog story.
Yeah, exactly.
You see? So you want to have multiple stories to line up. And then, so you want to line up your stories. Number two, you want to name them so that you have handles on them, because that's what our memory is like. Our memory is like a file cabinet. And if you have no handles, you can't open the drawer. So you want to stick a name on there. And then you want to rehearse, because the concept I shared earlier was confidence is align a story, reflect feelings. And then you also probably want to rehearse opportunities to reflect people's feelings so that they really experience it. Because what I've noticed is that people walk past benefits all the time.
Yeah.
But what they don't want to do is miss out. So FOMO, fear of missing out, is the thing that gets people's attention. In fact, I'm just going to flow into this. One thing that I offer people, and yeah, it does involve FOMO, fear of missing out, is that I've only got a tiny little bit of slots to take on one or two clients. And so what I say is that if you want a terrific session with me for free worth $759, what you can do is apply at getthebigyes.com/yes. That's get the big less. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's once again, getthebigyes.com/yes. And then what you can do is apply for a hidden breakthrough strategy session where you will identify, we will work together in that session directly with me, not with one of my team members, but directly with me, because you've applied for one of the slots anyway. And of course, there's kind of a screening process, because I want to work with the people who are ready to go deep and fly, take off, rise. And so the thing, though, is that when we do that, we get you an action plan, action steps, and then we identify what you're blossoming into, what you are growing into, and how you will take off, how you will fly. So anyway,
I know we have a couple minutes left here. So so last two questions. First question is, so besides that website, Tom, how else can people contact you, get a hold of you, or is that the main ways to go to that link?
Yes, getthebigyes.com/yes. And then the other way that they can get value from me is they can go to udemy.com. That's udemy.com, and get a lot of my coaching through my 10 online courses there. And then they can also actually get value by looking inside my books by going to Amazon.com.
Oh, perfect. So it's udemy.com/Tom Marcoux, or what's the link?
Yeah, so you would just go into Amazon.com and then you would type in Tom Marcoux.
For Udemy, how do they find Udemy?
Yeah, well, you can just Google it. You can just type udemy.com Tom Marcoux and you'll find me.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'll make sure to put that in too. And then last question is, what's the one takeaway you want people to have from this session today?
Yes, fantastic. The takeaway is that confidence, and I learned this being that timid kid, playing the piano, being terrified of making a mistake. I learned that confidence is not comfort. Confidence is a toolkit, and you work it. So confidence is not comfort. Confidence is a toolkit, and you work it. And so that's what I do when I work with coaching someone, or when I'm on stage in Thailand or New Zealand or wherever, or in Silicon Valley. What I've learned is that you need to have these things. Like we said, confidence is align a story. You need to have that story, multiple stories, and then reflect feelings. You have these in your confidence toolkit, and then you feel confident because you know you're ready, and rehearsal makes you know that you're ready. So that's really the takeaway. Rehearsal, stories, reflect feelings, and that's how you close sales with confidence.
Love it. All right. Well, what a great way to end things. Tom,
Thank you
so much for coming on today. That's been another episode of Rapid Results, and we'll see you all next week, everyone.